Good afternoon, everybody. Is everyone still awake after lunch? We need a little stretching session. Thanks so much for joining us. Next up, we have seasoned Atlassian expert Alexei Matveev. He has overseen countless migrations, both as an admin and as a solution partner with C-Prime in Moscow. And he also co-leads the Atlassian user group over in Moscow. And even though you might not have met him in person, there's actually a good chance you might have interacted with him if you've ever been on the Atlassian community. He has submitted 7,862 answers to community questions. So he clearly knows his stuff, and he's here to share it today. Please join me in welcoming Alexei to the stage.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much to see you. I'm very happy to see you all here, but today I would like to begin my talk with a story about my first migration. It was a couple of years ago. I had to merge two cloud instances and put them back into cloud. And I did a test run. It was pretty simple. Everything worked fine. Then we did a live migration on weekends. Everything went fine as well. So I was very happy, very nice job, easy to do. Yeah, and then I was thinking like, okay, I will come on Monday to work. I will begin a new project. Will be enjoying my life. And so I came to the office, I opened my email, and then I saw a few messages with the urgent sign. I opened them. Yeah, and it turned out that we had problems with the migrations, almost with everything, like with users, with data, with application data. Yeah, at the time I was very disappointed. I was thinking like, I have to find something easier, but I pulled myself together. We finished the migration, everything was fine. But I still feel like I have this negative feeling about my first migration. And that's why I'm here just to share with you my experience so that you could feel only positive about migration. Because it is possible. You can do it in a positive way. Okay, but first let me, some information about me. I work for C-Prime. C-Prime is a Platinum Atlassian solution partner. C-Prime does lots of client work. C-Prime develops plugins. C-Prime does DevOps Agile, and my part in C-Prime to customize Atlassian products, to develop plugins, to do migrations. That's all my part. I'm also a community champion. I have 7,700 answers, 2,100 likes, 1,300 accepted answers. And interesting fact that I'm level 9 because actually it's like it's written there is no level 9. I never knew about it, but it exists. I'm also Atlassian certified professional, and I'm a Moscow user group leader, so it's about me. And today we talk about migrations. First of all, what we talk about. We will talk about how to choose cloud or server. We mostly talk about Jira today. Then we'll talk how to do full-site migration from cloud to server, from server to cloud. We will talk how to do project migration, the way to do migrations, big bang versus lifetime, and of course, tips and tricks. I will tell you what I learned during this process of countless migrations. Okay, first of all, we begin what to choose. That's when you begin to use Atlassian products, you think like, what to choose. We've got server, we've got cloud. Server, data center, the same. Why would I choose server? Server is more flexible. You can customize it in countless ways. You can develop custom plugins to have new custom fields. You can customize user interface to hide, show fields. You can put, I don't know, JavaScript to the announcement banner. Somebody put JavaScript to the announcement banner? No? Never? Wow, that's good. Actually, yeah, it's not a good practice, so please don't do it. Another reason, administration is done at your site. So you are now the Jira master. You can do anything to your Jira. You can change the domain, no problem. You want to put, I don't know, proxy between your Jira and the world, no problem, do it, so it's all yours. Another great thing is that you've got access to Jira files. What's good about it? If a user has an error and the user tells you, like, help me with the problem, you can have a look at the log files. That's it. You found the problem, searched in the internet, found solution. So it's all yours. You can access database. So in my opinion, it's not good to work with the database directly, but you can. So you can, let's say, change description of all issues to anything you want from the database. Yeah, don't do it, please, but you can. And of course, you've got no limits for user and storage, because in cloud we've got 5,000 users and 250 gigabytes for Confluence and Jira. So if everything is so good about server, why would you move to cloud, right? Everything is great. So here are my reasons. I will give you 3 reasons. First of all, it's access to the newest features. It's like you can use the next generation projects. This is a new type of projects which let you administrate in a more intuitive way. Very nice things to begin with Jira. You can see the new UI. You can work with Jira Ops, Genie. So all new features are in cloud. Administration done by Atlassian. Because if you ask yourself, like, what do you actually want? Do you want to improve your administration skills, or you want to use features by Atlassian products? I think the answer will be that you want features. And that is why I let Atlassian do this work, like administering databases, operating systems, to do upgrades. I don't know if anyone ever did upgrades. I think they understand me. So everything is done by Atlassian, good thing. And of course, what I really love, because I work much for clients, I love Atlassian support. Atlassian support for cloud is much faster. Why? I have a friend who works as a support engineer for server, and I asked him this question, like, what's going on? Why you cannot give the same response like for server? And he told me the first actually reason is right in my slides. Jira server is more flexible, more customizable. That's why you first have to understand how you customize your Jira, and it can be complicated. The second thing is that support engineers usually do not have access to your Jira instance, and that's why they have to analyze logs to understand what the problem is, and it takes time. In cloud, definitely there is no such problems, because cloud is much less customizable, which is a good thing. And the other thing which is good, that Atlassian has access to it. So if you ask me what would I choose, I think in like most cases I would choose cloud over server. It's simpler. Okay, so, but suppose we chose cloud. We wait our reasons, and then we decided to go for cloud. And then someday we like, okay, let's move to server. We don't want to be in cloud. Why? Usually it happens if the number of users become more than 5,000. You decide to move to server. Okay, no problem. Let's go there. First of all, some preparational things. You need to know that license for Jira Cloud will not be valid for Jira Server and Data Center. You need to buy a new license. You can begin your migration at a free trial license. It has no restrictions, so it's the same like a paid license. But then you will have already to pay for the license. You need to install the latest version of Jira Server and Data Center. It's also important so that you don't want to have problems restoring the backup. The trickiest part are applications. And we will talk about migration of applications later in detail. And then another thing, you need to convert next generation projects to classic. That's how I do it. As I said, next generation projects, it's a new type of project where you can administer Jira in a more intuitive way. And this feature does not exist in server. That's why you need to convert next gen projects to classic. So first you create a classic project. You create like workflows, permissions, everything. Then you export all issues to a CSV file. Yeah, I will tell you why a bit later. Then you bulk move issues from next generation project to classic projects. And that's where you find one problem. Not all data will be moved. For example, epic links, values of custom fields, they will not be moved. And that is where you can restore this data from your CSV file earlier. How you are going to restore it, it's up to you. You can change this file and load it better with the import functionality. Or you can use REST API to write a program to update fields. Or you can do it manually, of course. So it's up to you. But it's possible to get all this information from the CSV file. OK, so actually, we're done with the preparational things. Now we're ready for backup. We go to cloud. In cloud, we've got 2 backups for cloud and for server. We obviously have to take for server. What you should remember, first of all, backup can be taken only once within 48 hours. Because mostly you don't perform like simple migrations, like you take something and put from cloud and put to server. Usually you take, like, for example, from cloud something, put it to server, then you want to put it to cloud, and then this time you need 2 backups, one for server to do the migration, and one for cloud, just in case if something goes wrong, you would restore your Jira Cloud. And obviously, you cannot do it, right? And that's where Atlassian helps you. You can write to Atlassian support, and ask them to reset the backup timer. They will do it, no problem. You can say like a schedule, like at what time, or you can just write, I want it now. But better to tell them in advance that you will need it, and that's all. They will do it. And another problem, you've got a link of the backup. You try to download it. You download it. And then you try to extract the file, but you cannot extract it. It happens because of the network problems between you and Atlassian. The only thing I found so far, try to download again. Once I did a migration, and I was not able to unarchive a backup for about 3 days. Tried everything like wget, like specialized software, nothing worked. And at some moment, I tried to change my providers. It did not work. But in 3 days, miracle happened. I downloaded it. So make sure that your connection is good. So we've got the backup. What's in the backup? In the backup, we've got 2 XML files, activeobjects.xml and entities.xml. We've got avatars, we've got logos, we've got attachments. First, don't try to restore the whole file to your server or data center. Unzip the file. Take only activeobjects.xml and entities.xml. Zip it, restore it to server or data center. If it's successful, stop your Jira. Then move attachments and avatars to Jira Home Data directory, and then move logos to Jira Home Logos. That's it. Now start your Jira, everything works. And then restore applications data. Yeah, that's the trickiest part. We will talk about it a bit later. OK, we did migrate it from cloud to server. OK, let's migrate back from server to cloud. Why would we do it? In most cases, we do it if we don't want to administer our Jira ourselves. We want Atlassian to do it. We want always to be up to date. That's why we migrate to cloud. Also, I met another case. There was a company, they wanted to connect external users to their server, but the policy of the company didn't let do it. And that's why they decided to migrate to cloud, because they could do it there. So that's the case. OK, let's migrate. Again, preparational things, license for cloud. You need to buy it, or you can use a free trial. It will work anyway. But you need a new license. The old license will not be valid. Evaluate applications. Talk about it later. That's the important step while you're migrating from server to cloud. Users and groups. Why? Because users in server are identified by usernames. And in cloud, they're identified by emails. And that's why there is, I don't know, a great possibility that there will be users in your server without emails, or emails will be not valid, or you will have duplicated emails. You need to fix it all before migrations. And another thing, your users and groups must be in the Jira internal directory. If they are from Crowd or Active Directory, they will not be loaded, but it's easy to fix. I usually fix it by changing the directory ID field in the database. So I just put there #1 for Jira internal directory in users, groups, and memberships, and that's it. They're there. So you handle the groups and users. Now we're ready for backup. When we have a backup in Jira Server, we've got in the backup only two files, activeobjects.xml and entities.xml. We need to add to these backups loggers and Jira Home data avatars, but do not include the avatars for users, because in some cases you can have errors restoring such backup. Leave only avatars for projects and issue types, and you'll be fine. And then create a second backup with attachments. So you've got two backups, attachments and all other data. Now let's restore it. First, we restore the first backup. Why we restore the first backup? Why not to take everything and put it into cloud? There are two reasons. The first one, attachments usually take a large space. And then you will be waiting for a long time restoring your data, and then in the end you will have an error. Because in my experience, I've never restored successfully a backup from server from the first attempt. So just make first file without attachments. The second thing is that if your file is large, you can have an error, something like the file could not be found. And it means that your file is actually very large. That's why you need to put attachments out of the file. So you restore the first backup, success. And then you already can import attachments. Actually, it takes not that much time. I mean, like when you restore the backup with data, so the backup downloads fast, and then there will be like, you will be waiting maybe for 3-4 hours just to complete the backup. Attachments will be loaded. Yeah, it can take time to load. It depends on how large your attachments are, but the process of installation into Jira is very fast. What can happen? Entity not found error. You can have entity not found. What to do? This here is easy to fix. You have to find the name of the entity in the entities.xml file. Find it and delete all the lines with this entity. Then archive everything back and put to cloud. That's it. Another problem is more complicated to solve. Errors with users. That's the most common error while you are migrating to cloud. And the difficult thing is that you cannot see the user who caused the error. But you can contact Atlassian. Atlassian support will tell you exactly the name of the user. And also once I did migration, I restored the file to cloud, and then there was an error with user. I contacted Atlassian. Atlassian told me the name of the user I fixed. Then I restored it again, and again we had a problem with the user. I contacted Atlassian. Atlassian told me the name of the user. I restored it, an error again. Okay. And then Atlassian told me, okay, let's do it another way. Remove all users from your CSV file. Restore this file to Jira Cloud. And then execute 2 SQL queries, they send them to me, and send us the results. And we will load all users and memberships to Jira. And that's actually what we did. And it worked. It made the process a bit more complicated because I have to negotiate with Atlassian, but we did it. So if something goes wrong, you can always rely on Atlassian and to help you with users. Because some errors cannot be fixed on your side. Sometimes you hit bugs, and that's the only case to ask Atlassian for help. Okay, let's talk about migration of applications. First of all, why it's difficult? The problem lies in the architecture. In Jira Server and Data Center, all data for applications are stored in the same database, Jira database. In cloud, all data are stored in the databases of vendors. That is why, if you take a backup from Jira Server or Data Center, the data are there, but then you restore it to cloud. Atlassian doesn't know how to put them back into vendors' databases. Atlassian doesn't have access to the databases, and that's why all data are lost. The same when you migrate from cloud to server. Atlassian cannot take data from the database of vendors. The data are not in the backup. You restore it to server data center, you've got no data. So what to do? You need to, first of all, read documentation for each plugin. You need to find a solution for each plugin. Read documentation. Usually vendors state there, like, if data can be migrated from server cloud or not. But most vendors do not support full migration. Some vendors support partial migration. It can be done. So what to do? What can help you? Most vendors have REST API. So I usually use the REST API which vendors provide. So you can take the data by REST API and then put them back where you want. So you can do it. Another important thing you have to pay attention, that features of applications in server and cloud can be different. I also once had a migration, that was my friend. We migrated from cloud to server, and then like my friend began to work with the Jira and said, come on, I don't have this feature and I really need it. But at the time, I didn't know that it could happen. I thought like, yeah, application in cloud must equal to application in server and back, but it's not the case. That is why, before migration, make sure that you've got required by you features on the other platform. If you don't have it, so you can contact the vendor or you have to find the workaround. And good news is that Portfolio fully supports migrations. So you don't need to do any extra steps. Just take data from cloud to server, from server to cloud, server to server, everything works. So Portfolio fully supports migration. So that's with migrations. So now we can migrate from cloud to server, from server to cloud, but when we do such migrations, we completely erase the instance where we migrate. And sometimes we don't have to do it. When? For example, there are two companies. Each company has Jira instance. And then you need to take data from this Jira instance and put on the other one. You cannot erase data on the other instance. And that's when you need to do project migration. Or sometimes you need only to migrate a couple of projects out of 500. Yeah, it will be an empty instance, but you need only 5 projects. How to do it? Let's do it. The first thing, if the instance is empty, what can you do? You're migrating from server to cloud. So restore the backup to cloud and delete all projects except required. That's it. If you migrate from cloud to server, the same. Restore the backup and delete all projects except required. Also, there is another feature. It's called import project feature. But if you read the guidelines for the import project feature, you will see that this feature works best when you restore the backup to the same instance from where you took this backup. That is why for migrations, it's not the case, right? Because we migrate to other instances, and it can take problems to make it work. So you can try, but it can be complicated. Let's say that you cannot erase data on the other instance. What are the options? The options I love is export all issues to a CSV file, and then import all issues from the CSV file to Jira. There are 2 drawbacks. The first drawback, project configuration is not migrated, and you would need to create project yourself. You would need to create permission schemes, workflows, everything. Even if you migrate sprints and versions, you need to create first the sprints and versions before migration because they will not be created. And issue history is not migrated. You will have only the latest data. So with these drawbacks, and if you can live with it, so it's a very nice, reliable way to do migrations. But suppose you cannot do it. You need history. Okay, no problem. Let's do it another way. There are applications in the marketplace which can help you to migrate project configuration and issues. Here they are, configuration manager and project configuration. But as usual, not everything is so simple. These two add-ons work only for servers. That is why, if you need to migrate a project from cloud to server, what would you need to do? You would need to take the full backup to server from cloud and then already migrate projects between these two servers. Yeah, it sounds complicated, but it can be done. It can be done. I've done it, and I think you also can do it. Okay, so now we can do migrations, project migration, full site migration. Let's talk about the way to do migrations. I would say there are two ways, Big Bang and lifetime migration. What's Big Bang migration? Big Bang migration when everything is done in one step. Just you are doing migration, that's it, done. Lifetime migration when you have multiple stages in your migration. Let's talk about advantages and disadvantages. Of course, Big Bang is done once, and it's very good. It's done, so next week you just stabilize your Jira or Confluence, and then that's it, you can take a new project. No, not many things just to consider. Very, very nice way. It has long downtime, because while you are doing Big Bang migration, users cannot work in the old instance. They have to wait, otherwise all data will be lost. They have to wait. That's not good. It's complicated, because most migration is not like to take Jira and migrate somewhere. Usually it's Jira, Confluence, sometimes you need to merge data, sometimes you add Bitbucket data to it, and these migrations mostly done at weekdays, so that the client would not notice the time of migration. And if you think that 2 days is much, no, it's not. It's very short, because you've got lots of work there, like taking backups, transforming data, put everything back, so it's lots of work. Yeah, that's why it's complicated. But it has shorter overall time migration. Okay, lifetime migration, done in stages. Actually, for example, let's say the first week you migrate Jira, the next week you migrate Confluence, and then you migrate Bitbucket. It has short downtime. It can even be done without downtime. For example, let's say you migrate from server to cloud. How to do it without downtime? You can say to the client, okay, while doing this migration, don't change configuration. Add issues, log work, I don't know, edit issues, and then you are doing migrations. You're done. And then you can use applications for synchronizing data, like Escalate. It can do it. Also, backbone issues. I think it also can do it. I believe it can do it. Escalate definitely can do it. And then you synchronize issues, you stop the old Jira, and the user begins to work in the new Jira. It's complicated, but it's complicated in the other way, because you need to think what's going to happen to the data which you didn't migrate yet, and everything changes. And this really, it's very complicated to guess how everything will work in the end after you've done multiple stages. And it has longer overall time migrations. But if you ask me what would I choose, I would definitely choose Big Bang migration over lifetime. Lifetime migration only should be chosen if the client cannot afford long downtime, only this case. Otherwise, go for Big Bang migrations. It's much more reliable, much and easier than lifetime migrations. Okay, tips and tricks. First of all, test run. Always do a test run. And don't think that a test run is just a test run. No, it's the only time when you can really fix something. You can fix errors there, because not all errors can be fixed after you've done live migration. Sometimes you have to repeat it all over again. The more problems you find in test migration, the better you will be. Perform live migrations as soon as possible after test run. Again, cloud changes, server changes. The more you wait, the more problems you will have during live migrations. So do it as fast as possible. Always do checklist. Don't think that it's very easy, like take a backup, transform data, put it back. No, time goes and you forget things, because it's a good thing if you will make a live migration after 1 week after you've done a test run. Usually it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you begin to forget details. So put it all in the checklist. So when you're doing live migration, you open your checklist, look at it, so follow it, and it's done. Automate your migrations, and checklist can help you much with it. Look at the operations which take the most manual work, because the more you automate your migration, the more test runs you can have within limited resource of time, and the more reliable your live migrations will be. And something will go wrong during live migration. Don't think that everything will be fine. No, something will go wrong definitely. And if something goes wrong, ask for help. Okay, let's talk about help. First of all, Atlassian guides. It's a good starting point for migrations. Read Atlassian guides, there are steps which you have to follow, and everything will be fine. You can ask questions in Atlassian community. Many questions are answered there. You can ask your own questions, wait for answer. Or you can open a ticket in Atlassian support. If you are on cloud, you will have a faster solution. If on server data center, yeah, you will have to wait, but you are the Jira master, so yeah, you will have to wait a bit. So what we talked about what to choose, how to migrate from cloud to server, from server to cloud, project migrations, Big Bang, tips and tricks. But the main message I would like you to have, that when you discover that you're on the wrong platform, of course you're like hesitant to migrate. You are afraid to lose your data. You're afraid to interrupt your service. You are afraid that everything will go wrong, something will happen. As you can see in my presentation, it's all possible. It's all possible. Yeah, it can be complicated, but it's possible. That is why, if you feel like the other platform will be better for you, do your migrations, don't hesitate, and use Atlassian products for the best for you. Okay, thank you. Questions?